Hello, my name is Mads. Please do not do what I do. Please don't do this. So in previous videos, I've been like, here's how to safely tattoo yourself at home. Hi, at this point, I'm just officially just a crusty ass, like, house goblin. And just please don't do this. Do not get a tattoo machine and tattoo yourself at home. Can you stop making disgusting noises while I'm Hello. Here's the culprit. Why are you eating it? That's a cat toy. Give me that. Excuse me. You tore the tail off. It's not even yours. Pardon me. Excuse me. I know, she's a menace, but here you go. Belongs to you. If you could keep it up here.
Hello, welcome to my vlog. The primary purpose of this series is to talk about my journey in tattooing myself. This is not something I suggest you do or try. As you have already seen, I have animals in my home. That is not sanitary. I do everything I can to wrap my surfaces, make everything clean. I show you that whole process, but I do not suggest you do this. If you've been following my series up until this point, previously I've been like, yeah, try stick and poke, it's fun. But guys, don't do this with a machine. Don't. It is such a complex art form, trying to balance your hand speed with the rate at which your hand is moving, with which you're drawing, blah, blah, blah. We'll get more into it later. That you should have a professional or at least some kind of mentor who is teaching you how to use a tattoo machine. I got this tattoo machine back in December. I've been practicing with it for a few months on fake skin. This is not the best quality fake skin. It's really hard to take the ink, but here we are practicing what my next tattoo is going to be. It should be the next vlog if everything goes according to plan. This is a raven that I started on one of my best friends before he passed away, and I would like to finish it, so I'm going to put it on myself next. We are going to be doing a combination of poke and machine for that one. So here's sort of the transition video where we're talking about what it's like to start combining machine with stick and poke. Today we are going to be doing two separate test runs. One I did back in April and one that happened in late May, where I, again, do a combination of stick and poke and hand tattoo. We're sanitizing our whole station right now. Every video, I show you guys that I use rubbing alcohol, something in the high 80s, like 91%. Pure rubbing alcohol will evaporate too quickly, so that's not what you want to use. Anything that might have any sort of a porous surface gets wrapped in saran wrap, because even if you're rubbing alcohol, you can't necessarily guarantee that all the germs are out of there. I use an unopened container of paper towels anytime I'm going to be tattooing my skin. You also wipe down all of the skin surfaces, disinfect everything. I'll give you guys a list of my materials just so you know what I'm doing. I use a ratio of green soap with distilled water to help keep surfaces clear. All kinds of exciting stuff, but we're going to go over this all a couple of times. So the primary purpose of today's video, besides, emphasizing do not buy a tattoo machine and do not tattoo yourself at home with it, that's a really bad idea. We're also going to talk about the quality of materials because I had some pretty interesting experiences using sort of brand name needles versus non-brand name needles. And we're also going to go into just the fact that you need to touch up your tattoos. I've been observing on Reddit lately, a lot of people are surprised and they don't realize tattoos take maintenance, especially if they're going to get a lot of sun. This is the very first time I used a machine on myself, and you might notice that it's getting kind of bloody. And that's because my hand speed is not matching my machine speed. I went into this previously hand-poked tattoo with some white to try to cover up, not cover up, but just see what it looks like to put white ink into something else. I also tried to use my machine on the outside of my knee. It's barely in the frame, and I apologize about that, but I actually completely missed. We'll come back once this is healed a little bit, but I bumped out of the lines both on this Heffaby and when I work on the wizard in a little bit. So I am personally not going to be using the machine for anything near any edges. I've tried doing a white experiment before on a previous project, and the white doesn't show up on my skin. I am very, very pale. And it's going to be interesting to see how these heal, because on that purple heart, like I mentioned, we went over it to add more stars to a little star space. And we'll see how that is. I could not see what my skin was taking because I'm bleeding. Trigger warning, I guess. Trigger warning about blood in case that bothers you. You probably wouldn't be watching a tattoo page if that did bother you. But you can see how red and irritated this is. I'm going at a weird angle. I'm not using the appropriate size. I believe this one was like a 7 mag. The machine that I am currently using is a wireless battery one, and it has minimal voltage. It's not as powerful as a coil machine would be. And so anything 7 or larger is probably asking too much of my machine. I might be able to use this machine for like 5 round liners or something like that, but here we go. I'm literally just throwing some white into places to see what it feels like to tattoo myself. We're going to zoom up real close and you'll be able to see that I missed that little spot on the Heffa bee. And what was very interesting was for the wizard, I also skipped a line right there where I'm pointing to it, and it whited out the line. So something I figured out is if you don't like your tattoos and you would like to quote unquote remove them, you can't get rid of them entirely, but you can put some white ink in there and make your lines disappear a little bit. So you can kind of use white out if you're as pale as me. I don't know what that's going to do on other skin. There you can see at about 1 o'clock on the little purple dot, it went outside the line. Not the end of the world. No one's going to notice but me. Here are the tattoos that were previously all hand poked. We're going to go over them and we're going to fix them up today, at least to the best of our ability. Again, this is just sort of an experiment, so we're not going to be too thorough. These were all hand poked, and there's little things I want to change about it. Now, here we go, the most satisfying part of the video for all the hate watchers. I shave my legs. I understand I'm biologically female, and therefore it triggers some of you to see that I don't shave my legs. If you want to come over to my house and shave my legs for me, sure, go ahead, but I'm too lazy for that crap. I do want this whole leg sleeve to be filled with color. I want to do all kinds of fun stuff with it, so once in a while I'll sit down with some markers, and I'll go in, and I'll try to decide what stuff's going to look like. My Star of Chaos, the rainbow is going to be oriented a little bit differently. I'm just trying to make sure... the wizard's also going to be purple instead, so I don't want the purple facing at the wizard. There's going to be a mermaid tail up there. Blah-de blah-de blah. As you saw, we already do a lot of practicing. I'm right now putting down the stencil for that next tattoo where I would like it to be, and I actually love this placement. We're kind of going to test it out right now, move around, see how it looks warped, and I'm really happy with it. I don't think it looks great the way it's lined up with my other tattoos, but it's not a bad placement, and it's going to be really, really easy and convenient for me to keep that skin tight while I'm tattooing it and to practice with the machine. And again, get a little bit more of a feel for it, especially because this tattoo is going to be solid black. All the self-tattooing that I do in this video is very light. Again, experimental, just touching things up. I want to emphasize that you should be practicing. So here we go, putting down more things with the tattoo machine. I am ambidextrous, so I do switch back and forth. It's kind of a subconscious thing. But especially if I'm doing center fills, I'll flip over to my left hand. So we're re-cleaning all of our surfaces. I do keep everything in plastic boxes or in trays. I have lots of different inks at my disposal, so I get everything ready that I might be using, everything disinfected. Yeah, pretty exciting stuff so far, huh? I have YouTube playing in the background. I basically live on YouTube. I just set up a queue every morning with my coffee, and I watch a lot of like Japan-related stuff and just a lot of niche like bread tube type nonsense. I don't watch as much tattoo YouTube as you would think I would. So here we go. Making sure everything's sanitary, everything's fresh out of the package. Got some fresh distilled water for cleaning out the tattoo machine with. I have several different brands of needles, and we'll go into that a little bit later because I definitely had a different experience with different needles. Bought these little covers to try to keep the machine sanitary. They're a pain in the butt to get on, and it makes it difficult to take the needles on and off, but we do what we have to do. I have one hand grip that I use for hand poking, but I'll also make a few more grips before I start so that I don't have to lose my flow state. You use that like flexi tape stuff as a grip to make it nice and wide. Right now I mess up my ink ratios. This does affect us later on. My black ink was running out, and so instead of putting 1-2 drops in my lightest wash, it's a lot. I don't even know. It was maybe 10 drops, and then 12 drops, into 20 drops, into 35 drops, into half full. I used the machine to try to mix it up. I didn't do a great job. If you're watching this to learn what not to do, maybe invest in a tattoo ink mixer if you're going to be making your own gray wash values. Otherwise, pre-purchase other made inks. That's what I'm going to suggest. The first thing I did on this day was hand poked some color into my Heffabee. I did not want to use the machine because of how we were already skipping the lines the last time around. Just no more of that, please. Then disinfect everything that was like resting somewhere else. I went into my leaves and I darkened up the inner edges of the leaves, filled up any spaces that I felt needed it. Did not love the way the machine was pulling at my skin, but it is what it is. I really wanted to darken up the rat. This plague rat is supposed to be dark, and I love him so much that I've been very nervous about messing him up. So I went in and I tried to put some fur texture, and it didn't really take for whatever reason. Later on, when I work on my tombstone, that ink seemed a lot darker, but what was actually happening is my skin was getting irritated. So really quick, let's talk about needle quality. I'm going to say store brand. The store brand needles were not taking. I was poking as hard as I could, and it was like a reverse magnet. They were just going away from each other. When I switched over to a radial brand needle, it was like butter. No problem at all. So all I'm doing right now is individual pokes. I'm trying to put texture to this tombstone so it reads more like a tombstone. It's going to take a couple more passes. It definitely deserves that. But yeah, this was a fun, interesting experiment. Again, my gray values were not accurate, so would not suggest. But it was interesting, and it's kind of a relief to go in and sort of improve these tattoos a little bit. I was mostly using, I think, like Bug Pin 7 round with the Radical brand needles. I tried a 9 round shader, and it wasn't quite powerful enough. By the way, I forgot to mention, every time you put your needles away, put them in a sharps container. If you don't have a sharps container, use an old like laundry detergent container. Here we go, getting ready for my silly little life to go to my silly little job. I only had a few hours to tattoo, so that's why we only did so much. And here we go into healed. This is going to be about a week later, and you can see how everything is up close. Let's compare the two as well. My Heffabee is going to get more orange, a different shade of orange. You might have noticed earlier in the video I did a test version on some fake skin. I didn't like the color, so I'm going to get more ink. Some of my little white stars kind of picked up. I like how the shading looks now. I improved it a little bit. The leaf also looks better. Not a great tattoo, but it looks better. My tombstone's gonna need to heal a little bit more. I am really happy with the candle. I think the little bit of texture in the background of the candle helped a lot. And the rat, I just made the skin angry. It doesn't look like any of that ink took it all. I'm gonna have to go back and see which brand of needle I was using on the rat, because it doesn't look like much took. I even tried to put some shading in like in between his toes and stuff like that. And yeah, he's just angry. Leaf's looking pretty good. I'm much happier with the leaves, even though it's a very subtle change. You can see here that the initial shading I did on the first practice was really rough, and we kind of evened it out a little bit. We've still got some redness and stuff from the healing process, but that's okay. Put a little bit of color down. We're going to put some more down. I just wanted to see what like throwing 20 minutes worth of color in there would look like. This also is a little bit red. It's going to need to heal a little bit so we know how much value is left, but we're going to do a whole nother pass to get way more texture in there. This guy should be like at a 40 to 50% gray, and it's very, very light right now. Pretty happy with the changes here. I don't regret anything I've done with the machine necessarily, but still not going to suggest that you turn around and do this. If you're one of my followers who does stick and poke, just stick with the stick and poke. you've got all the time in the world, friends. Thanks for checking out the video. See you guys again soon. I appreciate your patience, and be safe out there, or else.